Wow.
Wow, this is some really deep stuff.
I don't know what just happened, but something happened inside of me. Something snapped, something sick.
I wasn't expecting that
either. Sorry.
It's okay. It's all right. It's beautiful.
Monster is like really small, but it had to become that to stop me.
And then the hurt child became present when you mentioned it.
And I didn't realize this until now.
There were things that I didn't remember until now.
Funny, I haven't seen that before.
It feels like I'm the monster. I'm kind of seeing images of things. Of a world where they can exist. This clarity brings all kinds of answers.
It's clear. She hugged me and then went back to her place, I guess, in my heart. Oh, it wants to come out. It wants to bippity boppity boop Cinderella me. She's melted into my chest. It's ooey gooey.
All week been finishing things, cleaning up more, started eating vegetables again last week. And it kind of just started happening. It's almost like I just finished going through a meditation session.
I feel light. When you hit that first joint, in the morning, and
I actually feel a lot more awake.
Okay. So,
all right.
Where would you like to start today?
Well, I've noticed something about meditation recently. Excuse me. It used to be that whenever I tried to meditate, I would get constantly distracted. And now when I try to meditate, I still get constantly distracted, but I noticed that there is a clear view of the pain that I'm distracting from, whereas before there wasn't.
Whoa.
It's don't sit with yourself. Don't make contact with the world or with the silence, because that's bad thoughts time.
That sounds really profound.
Yeah, it is. It's really interesting.
Wow. Well, congratulations.
Thank you. Now I just have to figure out how to sit with it.
Yeah. It's, to me, this is what IFS is. That IFS builds on that fundamental thing that we're all told to be mindful. Meditation's good for you. And then it gives us the next step.
That's true. Yeah.
Now that you found the things, we know how to work with them.
Still and detach. It's be with everything.
Right. Wow.
And I have noticed that past few days, how I can't just get comfortable just existing.
Mm-hmm.
And I've also been having a lot of trouble working, doing the stuff for my job that I'm supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
I will get it done, but I'll cause needless delays for myself, even if my coworkers aren't unhappy with me. It's just an unreasonable amount of stress that doesn't need to be there, because I'm always procrastinating, because I always feel like I just can't, sitting down and doing it would be too painful, which I think is also if I'm if I'm doing something difficult or not even difficult, but just like focused and challenging in the moment, then that's also space for sadness to come up.
Okay.
And then I try to I try to sit with myself. I try to comfort my parts or like be with them.
Mm-hmm.
And the voice of undeserver goes, you don't deserve to be with them. It's kind of a fight of like, I want to do IFS. I want to help my parts. And then I have a part that's saying like, you don't deserve IFS. You don't deserve to get better.
Okay. Okay. So when you're sitting in meditation, that's space for sadness that comes up. When you're at work, there's difficulty there. When you're doing anything focusing and challenging, that's space for sadness to come up.
Yeah, really the only time that, well, not even completely then, but the time when I feel most free from those crappy feelings are when I'm just like dicking around on Discord, talking to my friends, or like sometimes doing household chores or something. But even that can be like the easiest thing is to just go on the internet.
Yes. Okay. And then you have undeserver saying there's no point or you don't deserve it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I'll be empathizing with the part. I'll be like, getting in contact with an element of self that understands and like what the part's doing and makes sense. And so I'll be thinking, yeah, this part's actions make sense. I understand why it's doing what it does. I empathize with it. And then this other undeserver part will come up and be like, but what if this part is still bad anyway and still being a fuckhead, and what if you shouldn't sympathize with it actually?
Yeah. Okay. What if this part is still bad and you shouldn't sympathize with it? Okay.
Yeah. And I try to say, well, like, everyone's actions are understandable. Like, it's not just me. I'm not just having like pointless sympathy for myself. This is literally how the world works. This is how everything works, that everyone's point of view is comprehensible and well-intentioned, but that doesn't really make a difference to undeserver, even though he's all about logic. It kind of falls flat for him, and I'm curious to understand more about that.
Yeah, I think that was a great place to start. Yeah, it does sound like a big impediment to getting to other parts, and
yes,
if we can figure out why that's so important for him or what else he needs from you, then maybe you can help out that sadness.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Great. Okay. So how do you feel? You feel open to getting back in with undeserver in this conversation?
Yeah, I'd like to chat.
Okay. How do you notice him in or around your body?
It's hard to tell where he is in my body. I guess in my chest a little bit, but there's a feeling of overall doom and gloom. I guess in my back and shoulders a bit. There's a feeling of like collapse.
And how are you feeling towards him now as you notice him there?
Definitely some some curiosity, but also some worry. Yeah, because it's just a hard feeling to come up against.
Mm-hmm.
It's just sad.
Is the worry that sadness will overwhelm you, or that you won't be able to help it?
That I won't be able to help it. And also possibly that it would overwhelm me, but mostly it's not being able to help it.
Okay. Okay. Well, we could talk to that worried part.
Yeah. Worried part, I guess, feels like it's been so long of him doing this. Like, and what if he's right? That kind of stuff. Is he ever going to change? And also, should he change?
Yeah. Have you ever helped him in the past? Do you have any experience with working with him?
I've definitely talked to him, and I've definitely I've had positive conversations with him in terms of showing him sympathy and understanding. But I don't think I've ever concretely changed his view. It's always just been kind of a stalemate.
Yeah. Okay. I know that he was kind of the star of the show in our last conversation, and yeah, he mentioned something good happening.
It did feel like something good was happening, and it probably was, but he's still at large for sure.
Yeah.
It feels like I take a step forward and then I take a step back. It's not one step forward, two steps back, but it's also not two steps forward, one step back. It's just back and forth.
Okay.
I mean, I don't want to say that. I don't want to say that he didn't change at all last time. There was a questioning, he questioned himself sort of, but he didn't really come to any conclusions, I think is what the deal is. Yeah.
Yes, he questioned himself, and he also, I think, conceded or at least acknowledged that there were some routes to, just some possibilities.
Yeah, some possibilities is a good way
of a place that you could get to help him relax.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
How's the worried part feeling now?
I guess worried part is impatient, because you're right, he did say that stuff last time, and it's not enough for worried part, because worried part is just so worried, and it's just like, I want this to be better.
Yeah. And how long has the undeserver been doing his role?
Oh God, so long. But it was probably that time when I was 9 that I keep coming back to, that he started. So
more than a decade, right?
Yeah, 2 decades.
2 decades.
2 decades.
So, and he's 14.
Yep.
He's a 14-year-old with a habit.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I'm just delighted that there's progress, and that I say progress, I mean in his willingness to share and your ability to get to know him, in just opening doors, even if you haven't jumped through them yet.
That's true.
And I imagine that conversation will continue and continue.
Yeah. I agree, and worried part hopes you're right.
Yeah. And if we're not, we can acknowledge that too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe we can make sure to do this kind of checking in and keeping score a little bit to make sure that we're doing anything useful.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah. Well, worried part certainly wants to try.
Great. Okay, well, thank it.
Thank you, worried part.
And now the undeserver.
Yes. Mm.
What does he want you to know today?
Something about, I don't even know exactly what this means, but I just thought of like the sentence, like, I don't want to let go. That just popped into my head.
That's great. That's where we left off in our last conversation.
It is.
So I'll thank him for getting us right back there.
Yeah.
Does it make sense to you when he
points
to that? Yeah.
It does. And it's not just about letting go of, it's about letting go of something less tangible as well, but it's hard to describe. But maybe it's something about maybe the moral high ground is a good way of putting it.
Yeah, he's very morally conscious, and he has his logical system of what's fair and who deserves what, right?
Yes, except that even when informed, it's not logical. He doesn't want to budge. And I don't say that with contempt. It's just kind of really interesting to me.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think one of our hypotheses, at least from the last conversation, was that because of an exile that may be driving him, the logic is a surface logic, which is okay.
Yeah.
That's also not what's said with contempt, right?
Yeah.
It's his way of looking at it and putting it together as best he can.
Yeah. Yeah, that I'm curious about this exile, and I would like him to tell me about the exile.
Okay. Yeah, so that's something you can negotiate with him. Would he like to talk with you more about his stuff, or is he open to talking with you about that exile? Or neither? Is there something else that he wants from you?
He wants some sort of reassurance, but I don't know exactly what kind. I think the idea is if we're to get to the exile, he wants some sort of reassurance. Like, I think it's just like, like having an adult with you on a scary mission, kind of reassurance, which is, that's very wholesome. That's cute.
Yeah.
It's not his typical way of acting. That's interesting.
Right. Well, maybe he's recognizing you for who you are now.
Yeah.
How does he feel about your adulthood? Does he see you?
He wants to be convinced. He's not fully convinced yet.
Of your ability to be the adult.
Yeah. Which makes sense to me.
It does. Okay, he's given us so much.
Yeah.
All right, what's the adult thing to do here?
The adult thing to do is to say that we will take as long as you need to reassure you.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
How's he like that?
Yeah, he likes that. It's very interesting, like how subtle all of these signals are. Like sometimes I'll get something lately, especially, and I'll be like, I can't believe I picked up on that because it was so tiny. But yeah, I don't know. It's just like stuff comes out of my mouth, and yeah,
you're
it's
doing
weird
it for sure.
Parts are wild.
And your parts are also settling, I think, throughout our conversations. Like right now, just how quickly you're able to get to this place with this part and hear him clearly and not have, and the other parts are respecting you more and more to give you that space.
Yeah, they're chilling, especially
That's
agenda
awesome.
part.
Yeah. Okay. So you let him know that you'll take your time.
I think he's interested in getting to the exile, because the exile, if the exile gets unburdened and the unburdening is the sort of ultimate truth of the matter, then maybe he could be proven wrong, and ultimately he kind of wants to be proven wrong. So
yeah, that's courageous of him.
Yeah.
And does he have any requests about what that would look like for you to go there? How near would he need to be? What would he need before doing that? I might be jumping ahead, but
It's a good question.
because he also could, just go play Xbox or something. Well, like I just want to leave those possibilities open that.
Yeah.
To understand what it is that he needs to allow that.
I'm curious too, and it's hard to come up with anything right now. It's hard. I'm not hearing anything specific. I think he doesn't know, actually.
Which is okay.
I think he hasn't thought about it.
Yeah, and typically, I mean, that's totally normal and fine.
Yeah.
I just don't want him to feel like it's his obligation to go deal with this, because my theory is he's been dealing with this. He's been dealing with it his way.
Yeah.
For so long.
It's true.
And a lot of protectors just are happy to take a break, take a vacation, and I don't want to make it sound easy, like, oh, the other protectors just step back easily, but I mean, sometimes that is the agreement.
Yeah.
Does he have more he wants to say about letting go?
There was just a slight shift, but I feel like it's going to be very hard to explain, but maybe not.
Well, you don't need to explain it to me. If you're getting it.
Yeah. Like, I feel like he just said to me something along the lines of, the exile is sad. And then there was a feeling of possibility, of like a slight feeling of like a sad being having the opportunity to be reassured. Rather than this tension that I've been feeling until this point.
It is possible. It's also possible that you can titrate that you can do that in very baby steps.
Mm-hmm.
And so it doesn't have to be flinging the door open and, I know agenda part has been interested in. Right.
I don't feel like the door is flung open at all. It feels like a very slight crack, if anything.
Right. So, I'm just saying that that's okay with me.
Yeah, same.
Sounds like we got agenda part to step back and be okay with that, or to let you do this at your
agenda
pace.
Part is doing good today.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because agenda part is scared too of exiles at the end of the day. So
yeah.
But yeah. So I think undeserver, he opened the door, teeny tiny crack.
Okay. So what's next?
Kind of like, I don't know, I'm scared, and I'm saying like, that's fine, no rush. And then there's a little bit of that sort of peaceful feeling again.
Yeah. He's scared and you're with him.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not also scared. You're just with him.
Yeah.
You could talk to him more about kind of his dreams or his ideal role, the things that he would rather be doing if he didn't have to work so hard.
I've actually asked him that once or twice, and both times I got something along the lines of like, I just want to love people, which is, as prickly as he is, it makes complete sense to me, because all of his stuff is about being moral and doing right by others.
Mm-hmm.
So in his ideal world, he wouldn't have to be strict and he could just be loving.
Mm-hmm. How does he feel about your capacity to be loving, or even just to be present without the strictness? Like, yeah.
Well, he does wonder, kind of like, this reminds me of the things I would think about God as an atheist kid. He wonders if self is so great, then where has it been all this time?
Good question.
I know, it is a good question.
Yeah.
Like, oh, God has to be reminded to love me? That's funny.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't know about, conflating God and self. I don't know if that's going to be helpful in this conversation or
I don't know.
with an atheist. So I don't know, but, and I certainly don't have any, wisdom around that, but I think I understand self and how it operates.
Mm-hmm.
So If self's so great, where has it been all this time?
Yeah, it's like if it's so merciful, then why couldn't it be proactive with its mercy? Why did I have to struggle to find it? How is that fair?
Yeah. Sounds like there's some. Well, he's got the fairness point, but is there some sadness in that as well?
Yeah, there is some. It's almost like self can't be perfectly good, because if it was, then bad things wouldn't have happened to me. It's that sort of feeling.
Okay. Self can't be perfectly good because bad things wouldn't have happened if it was. Okay. And your response?
My response is, I don't know. My response is, that's a good fucking point, honestly.
It's a good point. It's a great point.
Yeah.
And how often do you feel in your life that you are self-led versus parts-led?
I don't feel like I'm self-led that much. I try to be, but I mean, trying is sort of, by the time you're putting in a bunch of effort, that's when you're not being led by self. The self is
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah. I try, but often fail.
So when you're not being self-led, then you're being blended, right? And parts are in control. And has he seen how powerful the other parts in your system are? Himself included.
Yeah, he can appreciate that because he knows he's powerful, and others were still able to shove him down enough for me to be functioning since my ex died. So clearly there's some heavy hitters in there.
Yeah. Yep. So to me, that's the answer. I don't know if that feels like an answer to him.
So
self can be perfectly good and still be buried under 100 other parts that are taking control.
Yeah. And that raises just some interesting questions, like, is self helpless?
Right. Yeah, and that's why I was trying to distinguish from God, because we're not saying self is omnipotent.
Right. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's like because God is supposed to be omnipotent and all powerful and all good, but self is really only all good rather than the other two things.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something to chew on. And he doesn't think that necessarily the whole philosophy debate about it will make or break whatever happens, but he's just thinking about it.
Yeah, I'm glad. I love thinking about it.
Don't we all? No, some people probably don't, but
so is self helpless?
Yeah. But I guess if it was completely helpless, then nobody would have ever discovered it. And
go ahead.
Well, the truth is that I was kind of trying to reach it this whole time. Like, it was kind of in me the whole time, because when I first read No Bad Parts, I didn't doubt a word of it. I was like, yep, that's it. That's the thing. Yeah. I found it. I just knew it was true. So.
I know it's true about everyone I talk to. That's how that's why I'm looking forward to talking to them again. It's
yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the fact that you have, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say the fact that you have parts is not unique to you. The fact that parts take over, like, I don't know, there can be a feeling, maybe I'm just making this up, but like, well, what's wrong with me if myself didn't rise to the occasion? And it's like, no, that's the human condition. That's where we all are by our nature.
I think that is part of my issue, is just like, if it is the human condition, then that's kind of depressing.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, no, that is, I do imagine that a lot of people feel that way.
Well,
about like
it would be depressing, but we couldn't survive without the parts doing what they do. So often, especially in childhood, when we don't have, when we're so limited in our resources.
That is true. Yeah.
That's why we're not trying to make them go away. We're just trying to kind of rearrange the seats on the deck and find a leader that everyone can agree on.
Yeah.
He wants to be loving. Self wants to be loving. Parts want to be loved. People want to be loved. It's kind of like, and when you see it, when you read about it in the book, you say, oh yeah, that's it. So it sounds like we all have the same goal there.
Yeah. Because I've always had this feeling, and I feel like I've sometimes felt strangely alone in that feeling that everyone was redeemable, or that nobody meant harm. And the more trouble I had with my ex, the more I came to believe that nobody meant any harm. And that was a strange perspective to reach, but I never regretted reaching it.
Yeah.
I would say to people like, I don't think that anybody is inherently bad. And they'd be like, even Hitler? And I'd be like, I mean, he did horrible things.
Right.
But like, people are people. I don't know. Like, and then that leads to the whole thing of like, well, if you dehumanize an evil person, then you're kind of doomed to repeat some of that stuff. Because you can't see the danger in yourself.
Right. And if your understanding of all of this is as uncommon as you suspect, then you might be in a very small group of people who have that perspective and have that ability to, or at least are in that place on their journey where they can heal their parts and do what this part wants, loving people.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just saying again, congratulations.
Thank you.
To me, it's the opposite of doomed.
Yeah.
I mean, we're having this conversation.
Yep.
Like, how uncommon is that?
It is pretty uncommon. Yeah. And yet I still don't know if I would have been able to reach this point without finding IFS in particular. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
I just think about I haven't even unburdened an exhale yet. And I still think sometimes like, what if I never discovered IFS? How would my life have turned out?
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah. But anyway, I don't know exactly where I'm going with all this, but
how's he feeling about all this conversation?
He's feeling interested and still a little doubtful. He feels like he needs to be devil's advocate all the time. So he's just like, yeah, but what if things are bad? And what if self isn't enough? And stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which I get. It makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And we need parts that are devil's advocates. We need the tension.
Yeah. Although he really does hate his job.
Okay. So, yeah, what would it look like for him to be able to relax in that job to some degree without giving up the very important process of checking yourself and testing your beliefs?
I don't know. Yeah. He just doesn't want to be disappointed. It's like a child finding out Santa Claus is real after all, and but being like, if this is a lie somehow still, then it will break me.
Okay. Yeah.
Like if it's a lie and I believe it, and then it turns out to be a lie. So best not to believe it.
The lie being that you're capable of.
Yeah, that I'm capable of like healing in an honest, like authentic way.
Yeah.
Or that I deserve healing or whatever, you know. That self is the truth. It's like a kid finding an ideal parent and being like, but are you really? Yeah. Are you the real deal?
Right. Well, the good news is that you and your parts are going to be in there for the rest of your life. So, you know, I'm not saying that you'll only take steps forward and never back, but the idea that self isn't going to be there tomorrow, or that type of abandonment.
Yeah, or not even abandonment, but like what if self is like nice but not real, or something I just made up to feel better about myself.
Right.
Yeah.
And that happens, right? We have self-like parts.
We do.
Yeah.
We do. Oh yeah, maybe it's because so many self-like parts have tried to convince him out of his positions.
Ask him, see if that checks out with him.
Yeah, I mean, he is like, I have countered so much bullshit all this time. Yes. Why would I trust this?
Awesome. He's done a lot for you.
Yeah.
Let him know you see that. You see these other self-like parts. You see how they manifest.
Yeah. He's made sure that I'm not just lying to myself about a lot of stuff.
Or letting self-like parts get in there with exiles and lie to them. Yeah. And it's like the worst. He has like the worst job in the whole system. It's like the hardest freaking job. Yeah, he's like this gatekeeper for.
Yeah, he's like
for the most important thing.
He's like announcing stuff that he hates and doesn't want to believe to a very unsympathetic audience constantly.
How do you feel towards him as you see just how difficult his job is?
I feel admiration and respect that he's kept up with it anyway.
And can you show him that? Does he feel that from you?
He does feel that.
Okay.
Yeah. He appreciates it.
And you could ask him to look around and see if there are self-like parts in here with you in this conversation with him. And if he just wants to tell me, or if I have my own self-like parts in here, maybe we should all check out and see if we're alone in here with this part.
Okay.
Because he's good at detecting them, right? He's got that's been his job, is fighting them off.
Very, very good at it.
I want to learn about that. They slip past me all the time.
Yeah. So yeah, he's just like, his message to self-like parts is that you're like, the explanations you're giving may or may not be correct. But the fact, like, whether they're correct isn't the point, because when it's motivated by the desire to calm me down and placate me, there's no way of telling if they're correct. So they just don't mean much.
Yeah. And are they up now? Just ask him when he looks at you, the one who's talking to him, or me, the one who's talking near him. Are we here just to placate him?
Okay. For me, I think there are self-like parts standing around kind of nervously, but they're not really getting in on anything at the moment.
Yeah.
I think they've popped up like here and there, maybe like a little bit when I was like waxing poetic about IFS, but like most of that was genuine. Not that self-like parts can't also be genuine, but and he wonders if you've got some like, he's the line I get from him is like, are you too quick to reassure? But he doesn't know.
Yeah. Okay. So that would be one of the ways that he would judge if that's the placating part, is too quick to reassure.
Yeah, like if there's always an explanation for something, then he wonders. He wonders.
Yeah. Good call. Because the ground for self is curiosity.
Yeah.
And so when we always have an explanation, that can be he's good at this.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to check in on my curiosity.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure there's plenty of times in this conversation where I've not been. So
Not been
curious, or have been quick to throw in my own points, or
it's hard. I mean,
it is hard.
It's so hard for my parts not to do it. Like they've been doing it nonstop for years.
Right.
Like it's really hard. Anytime I talk to someone about him, like everyone wants him to change his mind because like everyone inside of me and everyone outside of me, because it just makes sense. Like it's just such an existentially scary concept to be like bad and wrong, and and the world isn't a good place or something. I think it's like the ultimate fear for a lot of parts.
It is, yep.
Yeah. But that's not to say that I think that all of your explanations were self-like parts, because sometimes it's just there's just like offering an alternate idea, and that's fine. Sometimes he needs to hear that.
Yeah. So he's good at detecting bullshit and detecting self-like parts. And I'm wondering if he feels like there's anybody on his team in that detection. Like, I mean, that's something that I'm trying to offer, is like, okay, let's look out for those also. And how he's experiencing that with you.
Well, yeah, I mean, he like, certainly, like, you have been like quick to identify that he has something valuable to say, which is not necessarily the norm. And he also feels that my self is on his side. In fact, like he does feel that I have stuck up for him a number of times. Like when talking with friends who want to, or friends, or even like my therapist at times. And I don't blame my therapist either for wanting to convince me, because everybody sees what happens with him and feels bad for me and wants me to not suffer, and that's very sweet. But yeah, he has definitely felt that I've stood up for him a number of times, and he doesn't forget that.
Yeah. So earlier he was, just expressing concern because his job is so important, and he had doubts about your ability to help him out with that, right? Correct me if I'm wrong about any of this, that he can't take his hand off the wheel because who's going to look out for such important things?
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Maybe self can. He's not convinced yet, though. But it's,
right. Yeah, sometimes there's this idea of self as being like having this kind of love that's very passive. Like, oh, it's just warm all the time, and that's the only thing it knows how to do, and who's going to be there to ask these important questions, right?
Yeah, that is a concern that a lot of my parts have. For sure. Right.
And so to me, that leaves out the curious and the creative and the courageous and the clarity parts.
That's true.
So what's next? Does he have any other requests? Or do you have any other ideas about next steps in working with him?
he feels a little bit like easier to breathe with like fewer self like parts around. Like there is a little bit of like relaxation there that wasn't there before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he feels interested and yeah, I sense a certain openness that I don't take for granted with him. Usually he's like, no, what if blah blah blah. And now he's just kind of like,
Yeah.
So that's good.
Yeah, it's a vulnerability and courage from him.
Yeah, like he doesn't usually even like to take compliments. Because it's like, why do I deserve accolades? Yeah. But he did let me tell him he was amazing or whatever. So
mm-hmm. Yeah, you could also show him. I mean, there's if there's a way of getting closer, any kind of something nonverbal or something that feels right.
Yeah. I think yeah. I think what I've been trying to do is like be affectionate and be like actively loving toward him, and that's been one of those caretaker parts, trying to do that. And what is really seems helpful is if I listen to him.
Yes.
So yeah, so that I think that's why we weren't connecting before, even after last time we made some progress. I think in the time between our last time and this time, I still had a caretaker part trying to intervene because the managers are all scared of him and they don't want him to have free reign.
Right. And when you're listening to him, does it feel like he has free reign? Does it feel like he's taking you over?
No, I mean, it doesn't. No, it doesn't feel like he's doing anything crazy. And the managers are seeing that. And they're like, okay.
Yep.
Yeah. In fact, it's hard to tell. I wonder last week when I was so totally triggered, I almost wonder whether it was undeserver or whether it was the manager's reactions to undeserver. I mean, I'm sure it was both at once. But yeah.
Yeah.
Used to be parts would see him and panic. Now they're just all kind of vibing.
Yeah. Yeah, they're all witnessing your ability to just listen.
Mm-hmm.
And how healing that is, or how productive that is for your relationship and with any part.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a part that notices that it's 7:30 and doesn't want to keep you.
I can do either. You know, you've done so much, and
I can always go as long as you'll allow me, but parts do not want to overstay their welcome.
No, I'm more worried about myself overstaying my welcome by.
No, not at all. Not
I feel like we've done so much good work here that I could only screw it up if I kept talking. No. So
I don't think so.
Yeah.
But I guess what would be the next thing? He still kind of got a feeling of like things right now in this conversation are good, are better than they've been. But if I take another step, is it all gonna come crashing down? If I go towards the exile, is something gonna go wrong? If 1 second passes and I think about some other random thing about my ex, like I'm gonna feel the same way as before.
Yeah. Yep. It's a practice.
Yeah. And I'm also thinking a lot about the fact that like you can work a lot with protectors, but ultimately until their exil's unburdened, they won't completely change. And so I've never fully unburdened an exile. I think I partially did once. But then I had problems in that exact same area again, so I don't think it really fully worked. But yeah,
it sounds to me like you're continuing to make progress in that direction.
Yeah, I think so.
And that the pace is perfect. You can't do it without the protector's trust. And that requires listening.
Yeah. It's true.
And maybe you'll need to do this with all of these protectors before they're willing to let you go there. I don't know. Or maybe you need to spend a lot more time with this one, doing more and more listening. There's no way for me to know or, to predict that, but.
Yeah.
It's obvious to me that you're doing it. I don't know if it's obvious to you or to all your parts, but that you are capable of it, that it works. Yeah.
It does seem like something is happening for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I haven't been like, we had all those sessions where I was worried about completely panicking and losing my shit, and that stuff is like a quarter of the intensity it used to be. So
nice to hear.
Yeah. It's very good, because that was some shit.
Yeah.
yeah, they just stakeholders, aka agenda board, are very, very interested to see how my life can change if an exile does get unburdened. And it really wants, and this makes sense to me, like it wants proof that it can happen.
Yes.
Because then if I have proof that it can happen even once, then I won't be worried about doing it in the future.
Yes. To me, the proof is the work that you do with the protectors. Because it's really the same thing. Protectors got problems, exiles got problems. You're going to listen to their problems and watch them resolve themselves.
Yeah, and I would also, I guess, just say to agenda part that there's I feel like the thought made sense in my mind, but it doesn't make sense in words. But like that it can happen. Like there's still time. Like it's not the fact that it hasn't happened isn't proof that it won't.
Nope.
Yeah.
Self is not helpless. Just a lot of parts with a lot to say.
It's true. It's true.
Just totally normal. I'm not saying you have a lot. I'm not comparing. I'm just saying that's how it works.
No, yeah. Makes sense to me. I guess I'd like to ask undeserver what he needs next.
Needs, wants.
I'm moving rooms because my neighbor is smoking again. Okay.
Needs, wants, would be delighted to see or have.
Yeah, what would delight undeserver? That's a question. He's not familiar with the concept of delight.
Yeah. He doesn't have to tell me if he wants to keep it private.
Not even. Well, it's not a secret. It's that he doesn't have any suggestions yet. It's, I guess, I mean, being able to love people.
Yeah.
Is the thing, but
that's pretty delightful.
Yeah. but it's, yeah, okay. I'm just getting a feeling of like, well, we're past the point where like the world has proven to me that, but I can never be truly delighted. Yeah, he doesn't really believe that it can happen.
Is that because you can't truly love people?
It's because things are fucked now. I think that's why my ex's death was such a big thing for him, because it's like before my ex died, he was worried about things being fucked, but he didn't know that they were, and now he knows that they are because this thing happened and it's irreversible and it can't be changed.
Yeah. And things being fucked is connected with your ability to love people?
I guess it's connected to my ability to feel unadulterated peace and joy.
Yeah.
like it'll always be a thorn in my side. It'll always be something that I'm dealing with.
Yeah. That doom feeling.
Yeah. And it's not the fact that he's dead. Like, I've lost people before. It's the fact that in this particular case, it just should have been different, and it wasn't, and it can't be. Like, if my ex had died another way, if it had been cancer, something that I couldn't have done anything about, and I was there at his deathbed and I got to say goodbye, that wouldn't do me, but this did.
Right. This felt like a reflection of your ability to love people, maybe? Maybe that's a leap, but the parts that it wants to be able to love people, it felt like you can't be truly delighted because things are fucked. And
and the interesting thing to me is that it's not even all about me being like a bad person, because if I could magically bring my ex back and do all the right things and have it work out, then undeserver would be okay again. Like, it's not like, oh, I found out that you're a fucked human being and nothing can change that. It's like, oh, this thing happened and it can't be changed. And so it's like this unfortunate accident that's partially my fault.
Right. Yeah. And it's irredeemable. It's
something irretrievable was lost.
Right, irretrievable. Hasn't undeserver been hard at work since you were 9?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he has.
Yeah.
And there have been parts that have stopped him a lot of times. And chief among them is the procrastination part. That one makes me there's undeserver who's always been like warning me, like he's gonna die, you're gonna have regrets, make sure you don't have regrets, promise yourself that you won't have regrets. He's been trying to remind me to do the right thing over and over and over. But then there's my angry part that just, when somebody hurts me, it wants to yell at them and tell them to fuck off and hurt them. And then there's my procrastination part that wants to just shut down and not deal with the problem. And undeserver feels like those two parts really, really fucked it. And he's not even like, it's not even like, oh, those guys, I hate them so much. He's like, he's just like, well, they fucked it, and that sucks.
Okay, so anger and procrastination caused the fuckedness.
Yeah.
Yes. Got it. So you could ask undeserver if it would make sense, if it would help if you also got to know those parts and could maybe help them relax or get to understand more about them.
Yeah, he's open to that.
Yeah.
I have done a little bit of that already, but not as much as I'd like to. So.
Yeah, because it's kind of like you're talking about unburdening undeserver in a way. You're talking about kind of taking over his job to a degree. And yeah, if he's been in this battle or up against those two parts, then I don't know. It could be a way to help, is kind of going to any part that he's pointing at and saying, look, they're a threat.
Yes. He feels like all of society and all of Park's society inside conspired to shut him down. And he feels ashamed that he wasn't strong enough to resist at all.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was just there was my anger and my just complete fatigue with the whole situation. And then everything outside me was reinforcing those two things. Like again, like therapists that worked with us who seemed to fucking hate me and think that I had like no place in what was going on. That I was just some like crazy woman. Books, certain books about codependency, like being the like girlfriend who's tagging along to your addiction adventures. That is like the lowest of the low. Like that's way worse from like an onlooker's point of view than like being the mom or something. Like being the girlfriend, you look like a total like hanger on to other people. And it's so funny because like especially towards the end of it, I didn't fucking want to hang on. Like I was just like, if I don't hang on, he's gonna die because nobody else is hanging on. Someone else, please fucking hang on with me. But that's still not how other people saw it. And so I got this shame about even hanging in there with him. And the shame and the anger and the fatigue, they all overtook what I ultimately knew was important to me.
And the undeserver was ashamed that he couldn't resist.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I know that it's a hell of a lot to resist, but that's kind of the point in a way. It's like he just wanted to be better than that. He wanted to believe in something. He wanted to believe that he could be better than that, even if everything was stacked against him. And he's so mad at himself, but also just at this world that would play it like that. And it's like either way, whoever's fault it is, it just sucks.
Yeah.
Like it feels bad to be mad at myself. It feels also bad to be mad at society. Nothing feels good.
Yeah. And can you show him that you get that you see that shame?
Yeah.
And is that okay with you for him to express that to you and for you to just be with him in that?
I have a part that doesn't want to admit that I can be ashamed. I have a part that's like, no, you shouldn't be ashamed. Don't admit that you should be ashamed or that you can feel ashamed of this, because then that means you did lose. Okay.
So the undeserver felt ashamed, right?
Yeah.
So just sticking with his feeling of shame, it doesn't have to represent you or your whole system.
Okay.
And what I'm asking is, are you okay with being with his shame and allowing him to show that to you?
I think I'm too blended with that other part.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's difficult, right? It's the feelings that we're always trying to push away.
Yeah, and I think that is why he's not felt completely at ease, because he really can't express the deepest feelings that he has about the situation, even still.
And he's made again, he's been courageous and vulnerable, and he's expressed a lot.
Yeah.
He's told you about his shame here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe you're not in a place right at this moment to accept that or to be with him,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and in the way that he needs with that.
Yeah.
But you've got your work cut out for you in that the most valuable step of listening. You've listened.
Yeah.
I've listened.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to you know, providing any space that I can for him to express that.
Yeah. Thank you.
And whatever else he needs to express.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope to be able to listen to him.
You've done so much of it in this conversation and others. Yeah. Check that out with him. See if he's got any other feedback or anything else that we could do differently or better, myself included, in listening to him and making it a safe process, a fun process, useful.
He says, like, sort of, like, thanking me for admitting that I'm still blended with that part, because when it's just an invisible blockage I'm not acknowledging, he feels so much more confused.
Yeah.
Than when it's just clear that there's another part in the way. Yeah, there is a sense of hope, because things are changing slowly, and I guess he didn't necessarily expect to get this far, and so it stands to reason that things could go even farther. But he's still, of course, sad and skeptical and all that jazz.
Yeah. Well, yeah, this is doing it.
Yeah. I
Just
feel.
Keep going back. Keep going at his pace.
Mm-hmm.
Keep doing excellent parts detecting. Looking out for this part that doesn't want to allow the shame. Looking out for the parts that are, caretaking, self-like parts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think curiosity is just what I have to keep in mind. I've had a part that's been trying to exchange comfort for curiosity.
Yeah. Just feel like a good place to stop.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. I look forward to hearing from you again soon.
I do too. I'm
great.
As always, very grateful for your help.
Me too. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Have a good night. Bye.
Do you want to help bring more self-energy to the world? If you'd like to participate in calls or help out with this project in any way, I'd love to hear your ideas. Join the Discord server or contact me at james@liveifs.com. A huge thanks to our audio engineer, Yvonne, for your care and diligence in editing the calls. To every caller for your courage in sharing some of your parts. And to anyone out there getting to know their internal system, keep going. Who knows, that might be the most selfless, helpful thing you can do for others, and you're the only one who can do it. If you'd like to see us reach the largest audience, we must please the almighty suggestion algorithms at iTunes and YouTube. And they don't care about the power of IFS. They're looking for likes and shares and comments, and the sooner the better. Follow the links in the show notes right here in your podcast player to make your wishes known. And now, a minute of meditation. Or if you prefer, pull over You can do it in 60 seconds. Just click one of those links. They're right there, and give us a like or a 5-star rating. It would really help. If you think this project is helping people, you're helping people by sharing it. Thank you.